So yeah, I totally agree, right? You want tests that look at function versus kind of the static genetic genome, which is what it is. It's not going to change. But like you mentioned, you can look at the different detoxification pathways, phase two detoxification, methylation markers, right? B6, folate, B12. Yeah. And these, really matter because if you have a poor diet or you're chronically inflamed or you have gut issues and maybe you just have a lot of malabsorption of a lot of these nutrients, yeah, you may run different functional tests that show these pathways not working well. And that gives you kind of a starting point to kind of work. Would you agree?
Absolutely. I always tell my clients when they ask me about genetic tests, I'm like, I'm always more than happy to run these for you and we can talk through them. But, what tests we ran is what is. Those tests are what could be.
And it's not going to change things too. I always say, is this going to change the treatment or the plan if we see you have genetic markers for mold sensitivity? If we already know clinically and functionally, these markers over here are kind of guiding us in this direction, is it really going to change what we're going to do?
Yeah. And
And so, how often are you testing the person's urinary levels of mold versus the environment, like the person's living? Do you prioritize one over the other? And then, when do you even jump on the mold bandwagon? Because, if someone has a crappy diet and they have adrenal issues and poor digestion, any symptom under the sun could look like Lyme, could look like mold. How do you prioritize?
so I definitely run some tests at the beginning, day one, before people even walk into my clinic. They call my office, they talk to my new client coordinator, and she goes, "Hey, he's going to want to see just some of these tests based off of the things that you're mentioning." Oftentimes, those tests can include an organic acid test, a hair tissue mineral analysis, and then a basic blood panel. I've got about 9 different types of people that she'll, or blood panel categories that she goes through and just looks at, like, okay, this person can fit into this category. Do you already have these
Sure.
labs? If so, he'll look at those. If not, then we'll order them for you so that by the time you get to him, he'll have information for you to provide a direction. And then, of course, we have assessment tools like a bunch of questionnaires. And I also do some muscle testing that will allow me to just understand more about a person. But the way that I dive into
In
mold
regards to
is,
muscle testing, what kind of things do you do there? Do you just kind of testing the organs? Do you use any vials to kind of get a sense of what's happening there?
yeah, I definitely test organs. I also test vials, to understand what's going on inside their body, whether that be, if their body would resonate with a toxin or infection. That gives me a piece of information that I can then blood test, urine test to prove out, in
Right.
another way.
Gives you an area to look at, but if they're like a telemedicine patient, are those still options for you? You go right to the lab testing.
I do both. I do both. So you can do frequency testing or even bioenergetic testing. Some people have machines that are, biofeedback machines where you can send in hair or nails. You can send in urine that can be read by a machine. I do frequency testing, self testing myself. And then I actually have a friend that will run bioenergetic testing as an additional tool if we need it.
Cool. Excellent.